Chiefs Kingdom, I think I have finally done it. I think I have finally found the pieces that the Kansas City Chiefs could put together and make the dream free agency. You guys have watched me for the better half of 2 weeks think of these dream scenarios, these dream signings. And now I think I have the perfect one in store. But before we do get into that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, because I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. Now, when it comes to my dream free agency videos, my mock free agency, whatever you want to call it, I usually release them on over the weekends, typically on a Sunday, but man, I had the perfect scenario pop in my head, and I can't wait till Sunday. And I call it perfect now because we still got a few more days until the free agency tampering period is open to where the teams can talk to players. So 9 times out of 10, you will probably get another video over the weekend of another dream scenario. But right now, this one was too good to hold for the weekend. So we're going to dive in. I want you guys to dive in the comments, discuss, see how you're feeling, see if I am cooking on this, if it is something realistic to happen. But let's just get into it. Now, my first area of need we're going to focus on, and it was the biggest news of the week, that the Kansas City Chiefs will not franchise tag Orlando Brown Jr. So let's act like Orlando Brown Jr.'s career with the Kansas City Chiefs is done. The Kansas City Chiefs have to move forward now. How will their approach going forward happen with the left tackle position? Now, I don't have a direct answer at left tackle position. Or do I? Do I want to get really diabolical here? Yes, let's get fun. Let's get crazy. Orlando Brown Jr., he wants this high top end money. He wants to be paid like a top 5 left tackle. And the Kansas City Chiefs aren't budging. But they could go to his former team, call up the Baltimore Ravens, and try to get Ronnie Stanley. Ronnie Stanley sent out a tweet where he seemed a little disgruntled in showing that he doesn't like what's going on with Lamar. And if Lamar happens to be gone, maybe Ronnie Stanley is up for grabs. I'm just messing with y'all. I ain't going that deep. But could you imagine, like really, if Ronnie Stanley is available, or if he becomes available in a crazy, bizarre world, that would answer all the left tackle needs, and I definitely believe that the Kansas City Chiefs would inquire. They would go back and try to get another left tackle from the Baltimore Ravens. And honestly, Ronnie Stanley is a better left tackle than Orlando Brown, where you might want to put that money where it belongs. But that's too far-fetched. So let's focus on this left tackle position. Like I mentioned to start off, I don't think there is a dignified answer here. The best answer I can give right now is I believe the Kansas City Chiefs, if they do move forward from Orlando Brown Jr., they will sign someone like a Donovan Smith. Again, it's not a sexy, great name to sign and not a better left tackle than Orlando Brown. But hear me out on this. If you were to ask about Donovan Smith a couple of years ago, yes, he does do very, very bad in penalties. Honestly, he has the most penalties since 2015. But he graded higher in 2021 than Orlando Brown did. He was actually a very solid left tackle before last season when he graded very poorly. So who's to say he can't give us one season? I said one season because if you focused on what Brett Veach said when he was trying to get a long-term deal done with Orlando Brown Jr. and why he didn't put the tag on him was because he wants a long-term solution at this left tackle position. He doesn't want to keep going 1 year at a time. He wants to have that solidified. So even though you can't really answer it there, how you can answer it is you trade up in the draft. Now, there are 3 good left tackles in the draft to where you might be able to trade into the top 10 or not top 10, but 10 to 15 range and try to get your guy. You use your first round pick and a third, and hopefully if Orlando Brown goes, it seems like the Kansas City Chiefs would get a compensatory pick, and that could be another 3rd round pick. So things can work out and maneuver in that way to where then you have your left tackle of the future, and you have him battle it out with a guy like Donovan Smith, and if he wins the job, then you move forward. But the Kansas City Chiefs aren't going to go into the draft with a big left tackle need. They're going to answer it or make it seem like they answered it, and then they could trade up in the draft and get their guy. If they're going to move on from Orlando Brown Jr., I believe that's the route to go. And also, I see a lot of Chiefs Kingdom fans out there saying, just sign him because that is the guy who's going to be blocking for Patrick Mahomes. Just get him done, get that signed, sealed, and delivered. Guys, stop that nonsense. Like, literally. Yes, left tackle is one of the biggest holes or biggest positions in the league. It blocks your blind side. Well, I don't even know what I was going to call him, but your GOAT. Just Patrick Mahomes in general, and you do not want him to get hurt. But doesn't mean just because he fills that position that player is actually that fill in the position where, oh, just throw anything you can at him. No, stop it. No. Literally, if you're going to pay big bucks, they have to earn it and deserve it. And yes, Orlando Brown is good, but I don't even know if he's a top 10 left tackle in this league. He is way too inconsistent, and definitely way too inconsistent to be asking for top dollar. So the fact I see Chiefs Kingdom just saying pay the man because there's no one better out there, that's not the way to approach it. Just because there's no one better out there doesn't mean to basically tie yourself down to someone for 5 to 6 years and be strapped to a contract that you might later regret. You can build somehow, some way, and Brett Veach will find a way. And if it's the way I assume is you just sign someone to a 1-year deal and you trade up in the draft and you have them battle it out and the rookie can win the job. Literally, the Chiefs have been not afraid to run with rookies on the offensive line. Look at Creed Humphrey. Look at Trey Smith. They were rookies coming in. Brett Veach is not afraid to make that move. So for the fact that you guys think Orlando Brown is the only answer, that is definitely not the case. Now let's get fun, and I'm not going to be pulling any of your strings on this one. We have been going back and forth with this topic of conversation, and it's DeAndre Hopkins. And I have made up my mind. We need to trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and I don't even care if it's a second-round pick. You give it up. He was on the Pat McAfee show today, and a lot of people said he didn't say much. But it also says a lot because, one, he held himself as a professional, and two, one thing that caught my eye, and I think a lot of Chiefs Kingdom as well, or anyone in the NFL media world, is that he wants to win. He has been in the league long enough where he wants to be in playing with Super Bowls, championships, and actually holding a Lombardi and have a ring. And he even had a statement to saying where I would do anything to where I would not hold the team cap strapped and I would renegotiate my last 2 years to where I'm not having to be one of the top wide receivers paid. Again, focus on that alone. I've talked about this time in and time out. If you're going to pay Juju around 15 to 18, who would you rather have? Juju at 15 to 18, or you have DeAndre Hopkins at 19, 17, and 17. Let's just say it stays at that. And it can be cheaper if you do a contract extension. I'm taking DeAndre Hopkins all day, every day. I'm not too concerned with injuries because Juju also has injury concerns as well. And then you can mention suspensions and PEDs. He messed up. It is what it is. It happens to players. You just got to hope it doesn't happen again. And with the way he sounded, he seems motivated and ready to put a full season in and try to get a Lombardi. It just felt like, and I may be crazy, but it really felt like he was trying to talk to the Kansas City Chiefs or a championship caliber team and be like, I will do anything. I won't even hold you cap strapped. I just want a Lombardi. And that says a lot. And I think that'll get a lot of GM's attention. And I hope it gets Brett Veach's attention. Now, I know there was reports we talked about yesterday where the Kansas City Chiefs will focus on Kadarius Toney being wide receiver 1. That could be smoke screens too. If someone is available of his caliber and at a cheaper price, it's going to catch a lot of attention and a lot of eyes will be moving that way. That line in itself, him just saying, I will not hold the team cap strapped and we will work something out, that will catch a lot of teams' attention and best believe it will catch the Kansas City Chiefs' attention. I definitely believe in that kind of scenario, a second-round pick is not too much for DeAndre Hopkins. Now, this was another fun one that I thought we should mention and bring up too, and I think it would be such an interesting addition. Now, let's say the Kansas City Chiefs move on from Juan Thornhill, or Juan Thornhill's market outprices what the Kansas City Chiefs want to do because he could have a market. There has been rumors that a lot of teams can be interested in him. What if the Kansas City Chiefs decided to spend a little more money and big money on a guy like C.J. Gardner-Johnson? Honestly, I think he is the best free agent safety available, and you partner him with Justin Reed. The dude is a ball hawk. He has 6 interceptions last year. It was funny. I even tweeted out a scenario too is, what if the Kansas City Chiefs re-sign Juju and then they sign C.J. Gardner-Johnson? You could sign me up for that. I would love to watch those training camp battles. Those two would be going neck and neck, head to head. But just focusing on what he brings to this defense too, he is a thumper. He knows how to get turnovers, and he brings that attitude that you want on this defense. specifically when you lose a guy like Frank Clark, who is that defense. He is that voice of that defense. You might have to search for it again. Not saying nothing that Chris Jones can't do, because he will be that voice of the defense, but you need that swag. It's what lifts everyone up. And you can see that's what C.J. Gardner-Johnson does with the Eagles as well. He brings that attitude. That famous meme, famous picture of him standing face to face with Tom Brady. He does not care. And I feel like he would fit perfectly in this system. And one thing with the Kansas City Chiefs throughout last year, they struggled getting turnovers. So I wouldn't be surprised if they focused on a guy like this, because he is a turnover machine. I may be crazy bringing up his name, but man, I would definitely love to see C.J. Gardner-Johnson as a Kansas City Chief. And yeah, we're going to still stay with the Eagles. I'm poaching off of this defense, and I'm going to bring up a familiar name, and it is Andy Reid's former player and Brandon Graham. Now that you lose Frank Clark, or it's what to be expected, he was officially released today, but there is the potential that the Kansas City Chiefs can bring him back on a cheaper deal. But to say not, I think Brandon Graham fits that hole perfectly as well. A guy who is still getting double-digit sacks in his career. He is a great game changer. He knows how to get after the quarterback. And as I mentioned with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the dude is a character. He brings that determination and that basically playmaking swag mentality where he's going to be talking his trash. And it's something you want on this defense. You want the defense to intimidate the opposing offense and enforce their will. And then when you have guys like Chris Jones, Brandon Graham, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, L'Jarius Sneed, now you're getting a good, complete defense, and it would be fun just to watch it be all complete and it move forward. I love those two pieces in whole to try to improve this defense. And Brandon Graham, I think he's more than just a rotational pass rusher, which I kind of wanted to label on Frank Clark. I believe Brandon Graham still can be an every down type of rusher with George Karlaftis on the other side. It would definitely be fun to welcome Brandon Graham to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think Andy Reid would welcome him back to his team as well. And now my last offseason signing, we're going to the running back room. Of course, I want to bring Jerick McKinnon back, but there was rumors on this running back coming from Chicago in David Montgomery, and I love it. And honestly, people are too concerned is he going to cost too much? It's a weird, when you put running back and cost too much, I don't believe that's a thing. I think, as I mentioned previously, that running backs are going to realize they're not worth much if they already don't know that. So there's not going to be big contracts going out like that. And I feel like David Montgomery would fit this offense perfectly. Just imagine him being a 1-2 punch with Pacheco. Then you have Jerick McKinnon doing his thing in the receiving game and the pass blocking game as well. And oh yeah, also too, going back, and I shouldn't retract like this, but we're going to do it as well, is bringing Jerick McKinnon back helps that left tackle position out so much, because he helped out Orlando Brown so much as well, where when Orlando's Brown guy flew past him, Jerick McKinnon was there for the chip block as well. So you can miss me with it. The left tackle won't be too much of a concern. I know the Kansas City Chiefs will have it addressed. But focusing on David Montgomery, he's still such a young back. He is coming off of injuries. But when you're a rotational back, that means you don't have to deal with too much wear and tear. Isaiah Pacheco will be your number one. But man, I would love that change of pace with David Montgomery, and I think he would fit this offense really, really well. With that, Chiefs Kingdom, that is my dream free agency as of today. It will probably change in the next coming days when I hear who's going to be released, what moves might happen, but let me know. Did I cook on this one? Was it a really good free agency, a dream free agency for the Kansas City Chiefs? Or are there some moves you are questioning, or some moves you feel the Chiefs should go in a different way? If you believe that, drop down in the comments below. Let's have fun. Let's discuss. But before you do, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you did like this video, please give me that big thumbs up. I'm checking out. Y'all take care.